Hi, my name is Bente, I'm the Norse Witch, and this one will probably be a longer video because I have a book haul for you, and it was all the books that I got back on Black Friday, and it's 29 books, but just rest assured, one of the biggest bookstores in Germany always has a 20% sale on English books on Black Friday. So since I know that by now, I already prepare like a huge list. The entire year before Black Friday, I prepare a list of books that I want to read and that I want to get. And then on Black Friday, I will just get all of the books at once. And then I basically have all of the books that I want to read for the next year. So this is what I did. So no, I'm not buying like 29 books every couple of weeks or something. And it took all of these books. It's the end of January now, so it took 2 months for all of the books to arrive. There's actually still 2 books missing, but it's okay. I don't want to wait any longer for this video, so let's go through 29 books that I ordered. Oof. Okay, I guess let's just start with the first big bunch that I have right here. The first thing is Veneficium, Magic, Witchcraft and the Poison Path by Daniel A. Schulke. This one, I hope you can see it. Let me read you the blurb. In many esoteric traditions, there exists a corollary between the concepts of poisoner and sorcerer, suggesting in sinistral magical kinship often interchangeable with witchcraft or maledictive magic. Indeed, the use of plant, animal and mineral toxins is a strand of magic originating in remotest antiquity and reaching the present day. Beyond its mundane function as an agent of corporeal harm, poison has also served as a gateway of religious ecstasy, occult knowledge and sensorial aberration, as well as the basis of healing cures. Allied with Samael, the serpent of Eden, whose Hebrew name in some translations is venom of God, this facet of magic wends through the rites of ancient Sumer and Egypt, penetrating European necromancy, alchemy, the arcane, the rites of the witches' Sabbath, and modern-day folk magic survivals. The second edition of Veneficium, newly expanded, examines the intersection of magic and poison, collecting the author's early essays on this magical kinship and exploring the toxicological dimensions of occult power. I think this will be great. Usually Daniel A. Schulke's books are great. And I am very interested in the poison path. I have not worked with poisonous plants yet, because I also like to ingest my plants. But I'm very interested in it, especially I think belladonna and foxglove probably. I've always felt a kinship with foxglove, I don't know why, but I would like to dive deeper into that and maybe at some point dare to actually work with foxglove. We will see. We will see. We have quite the poisonous plants around here, so we will see. Oh, by the way, as always, if you want book reviews on any of these books, leave it in the comments. And it would be great if before you comment that you want a book review on a specific book, check whether someone else has already commented that. And if yes, give that comment a thumbs up, because then I have basically a poll in my comments and I can see which book review you want most. Then I can start reading that book first. So that's the first book. 1 of 29 down. Then we have By Moonlight and Spirit Flight, the praxis of the otherworldly journey to the witches' Sabbath by Michael Howard. This one. It is a tiny little thing. It is not very big. So I guess I will go through this pretty quickly. And yeah, as you probably know, I'm in general extremely interested in all things spirit flight, astral travel, in general altered states of consciousness. Maybe that's also why I'm interested in poisonous plants. Who knows? So, as has been established by historians such as Dr. Carlo Ginzburg and Eva Pox, the elements of the medieval witches' Sabbath contain relics of the ancient spirit cults and localized pagan folk beliefs of Europe. Nocturnal spirit flight by which the participants of the Sabbath traveled to their revel also contains such historical rudiments, notably the night roving denizens of the Wild Hunt and the exteriorized or shapeshifted spirit double. By Moonlight and Spirit Flight, originally published as a monograph in 2013, examines such elements as the ancestral horde, the flight of the furious host, and the entheogenic witch's flying ointment, each of which played a unique role in the flight of the medieval witches. The mythos of the Sabbatic conclave, containing infernal and diabolical elements, is taken beyond its Christian pathology to connect it with actual practices in folk magic. This one will be great. I am excited about reading it, but it's only roughly 60 pages, so this will probably be a quick one, but I'm excited about it. Maybe I will take it with me when I'm traveling for a week or something. Kind of feels good. Okay, next we have one that I'm pretty excited about. Sorry if I just hit the microphone. And it is A Journey Through the Nordic Mysteries, Spinning Wyrd by Ryan Smith, author of The Way of Fire and Ice. If you know my channel, you know that I really like The Way of Fire and Ice because it's basically a how-to Norse paganism book, but in a very inclusive way. So for example, the author also uses they-them pronouns for Loki, and it's in general, it's very anti-fascist and stuff, which I really like. My cat is trying to eat my plant. Please don't. But yes, so that is why I'm very, very excited about that, because this one I think goes a little bit more into Norse kinds of magic, which you know I love. Channel name, duh. Delve deeper into Norse paganism with this radically inclusive approach. That's what I like about it. Expanding on the progressive ideas and practices in The Way of Fire and Ice, this next step book teaches you how to tap into the forces of the Nordic cosmos. The greatest of these forces is Wyrd, the symphony of life co-created by all beings, from the humblest plants to the mightiest gods. Best-selling author Ryan Smith guides you deep into the mysteries, where you will discover the role of fate, the importance of the 9 worlds, the Norse concept of the self, and more. Ryan helps you develop direct relationships with animistic powers, commune with the dead, and cultivate your skills in ecstatic trance journey work. Yes! Spinning Wyrd is for practitioners who are looking for more than the basics, who want to master the mysticism of heathenry and build a better world. This will be very, very exciting! Yeah, I'm extremely excited about this. I really, really loved Ryan Smith's first book, The Way of Fire and Ice. As I said, highly recommend it if you want a how-to Norse paganism beginner's guide, basically. So I'm very interested in seeing how deep this goes. If it already says it's not necessarily for beginners, but for people who look for more than the basics. Next up, we have a thickie, and it is Scandinavian Folklore by Alexander Gardner and William A. Craigie. I hope that's the name. Illustrations of the traditional beliefs of the northern peoples. This is a thickie, and I think this is more of an academic text. Looking at it, it looks like it. It also looks like it is a little bit older. Looks like a reprint or something. I already found Nisses and Wachter. Yes, I'm excited about this. Okay, this is not really a blurb, but well, it is what it says. It's about Scandinavian folklore. So it starts with the old gods, basically all the gods. Then we have trolls and giants. This is nice. And then we have berg folk and dwarves. Nice. A lot of them. Then we have elves and huldufolk. Then we have nisses and brownies. Water beings. I'm excited about the water beings. Monsters. Okay. Ghosts and wraiths. Wizards and witches, yes, I'm down for that. Some witch folklore. Churches, treasures, and plagues. And this is roughly like 450 pages. It will probably take me quite long. Oh, and it is from 1896, so that's why it's public domain. But I'm excited about this. I hope that it's just like down to the facts folklore, because if you know, you know. Older folklore books can contain quite the bias of the authors. So I just hope this will be a good one. But I'm basically at this point trying to like collect every single Scandinavian folklore book in English that I can and text, and like working my way through it. I'm currently actually working my way through a Scandinavian folklore book, which is great. So excited for another one, but it always takes me ages to get through. I don't know why. But for me, it's easier to read like one long cohesive text than like a lot of short stories. I don't know why, but it is. It's the way it is. Could you like settle down now, please? Nika doesn't know what to do, apparently. Okay, next up we have more of a normal witchcraft book, which I don't really read that many anymore. Like, I very rarely find like witchcraft books that contain anything really new and groundbreaking, so I don't really buy them that often anymore. But we have a couple of them in this haul. So, Witchcraft Unchained, Exploring the History and Traditions of British Craft by Craig Spencer. I know this is about British witchcraft, but I heard a podcast with the author. I don't know which podcast it was, but I heard a podcast episode with this author, and he sounded very knowledgeable, and it sounded like a great book even if you don't necessarily practice British folk magic or witchcraft or any magical traditions. Which traditions, old and new? Witchcraft Unchained addresses the metaphorical chains that have worked their way into the magical community and seeks to shed light on what has been lost, misunderstood, or otherwise made inaccessible to the serious seeker of the old craft. Whether you are new to the craft or have been practicing for ages, Craig Spencer's approach to presenting and interpreting the more modern history of the witch's craft will liberate your magical practice. Seek out the wisdom of the witches. Follow Craig Spencer as he leads us through the mysteries of the witches' seasonal holidays and shows us how to follow the path of the moon with the aspects. You'll also learn about the witches' gods, initiation into the mysteries, sacred sexuality, and much, much more. So this is the book, this is what it looks like. I'm quite excited about the mention of sacred sexuality because I really like sex magic and stuff like that. So we will see. We will see. I hope it will be a good one, but as I said, from the podcast episode, it seemed like a good one, so fingers crossed. Wow, we already got through 5 of 29. That's great. Okay, the next one I am also very, very excited about. It is Utterly Wicked. You probably already know that. I kind of feel like it's a classic at this point. Utterly Wicked, Hexes, Curses, and Other Unsavory Notions by Dorothy Morrison. It's a cute little small book. When being nice just won't do. Hexes, curses, and other unsavory notions. Most magical practitioners won't even discuss them. Why? Because they'd much rather find a positive solution that benefits all concerned. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Occasionally, though, our problems are such that nothing in the positive solution area will handle them. It's time to stand tough, be strong, and take definitive action to defend ourselves. And if you're ready to do that, if you're ready to own that action and take responsibility for it, then Utterly Wicked is for you. Jam-packed with over 100 rituals, incantations, hexes, and curses, this is the quintessential primer for learning all the magical tricks no one wants to talk about. Explore the little-known secrets and magical components designed to obliterate your toughest problems. Most important, you will find the tools to protect yourself, your family, and your home from ever being bothered with these sorts of difficulties again. Very excited about this. Luckily, I didn't really know, I personally did not really have the reason to curse anyone yet. So I did not need that knowledge yet. But I want to be prepared for the case in which it might happen. And I mean, the more you know about cursing and hexing, the more you can defend yourself from it. So, knowing about it, reading about it, even if you yourself don't want to hex or curse people, knowing about it is, in my opinion, pretty important so that you can put up proper protections against it. Next up we have Talking to Spirits, a modern medium's practical advice for spirit communication by Sterling Moon. This one. As you probably know, I am very into spirit work, spirit communication. Doesn't matter which kinds of spirits, I don't discriminate. So I always look for new ways to communicate because I am lazy and I like to make things easy for myself. So I hope that in this little book there will be some nice practical tips for me. Safely communicate with any kind of spirit and enjoy good stories along the way. Through step-by-step guidance and fascinating tales from her decades of experience, Sterling Moon teaches you how to develop your own spirit communication practice. She shows that everyone can connect with spirits, you too can enrich your life, find peace and make the world more fun and interesting through mediumship. This comprehensive book reveals how to identify and interact with many different types of spirits, including ancestors, deities, shadow people, and elementals. Sterling Moon provides journal prompts in every chapter as well as techniques for managing haunted people, places, and objects. You'll also explore a variety of communication tools such as scrying mirrors and ghost boxes. From ethical considerations to protection against negative entities, this book covers everything you need to build a safe and successful practice. This sounds amazing, and I could see this very well being like a basic for any practitioner, because I kind of feel like as soon as you start working with spirits, and that also includes heathens, because I mean, what do? We communicate with the Norse gods, with elves, maybe with dwarves, with trolls, I don't know, a lot of creatures. I feel like everyone needs to read like a book kind of like this. I mean, if you're a very naturally talented medium, then you don't need that, but I doubt that a lot of people are that. So this one will be very interesting. And by the way, scrying mirrors. I finally tried out my obsidian mirror and it was great. So I'm excited about this. I don't necessarily consider myself to be a medium, not at all, but we will see. This can only help, right? We have another herbalism book, and this time it's 13 Pathways of Occult Herbalism, again by Daniel A. Schulke. This one, so it's herbalism. Well, the discipline of occult herbalism encompasses the knowledge and use of the magical, spiritual, and folkloric dimensions of plants. This perennial wisdom animates many global spiritual traditions, especially those which have maintained their integrity of transmission, even in the face of industrial development and cultural destruction. Often concealed within the deepest strata of the Western esoteric traditions, this green strand of wisdom, though obscured, is a potent legacy of all magic, sorcery, and occult science. In addition to the hard sciences of botany, ethnology, agriculture, and ethnopharmacology, a number of pathways can assist the magical herbalist in furthering the depth of understanding and integrity of personal approach. 13 Pathways of Occult Herbalism circumscribes the meta-paradigm of herbal magical practice, providing useful examples of its manifestation, as well as demonstrating its time-honored roots of inquiry. This hopefully will be great, because I don't know what it is, I just like learning about plants, especially plants that have been used ages and ages ago, plants that are traditionally connected with witches, for example, just folklore of plants. I love learning about it, because the more you learn about it, the less you are dependent on like correspondence books, which I don't like necessarily. As a first starter, they're okay, but like they usually kind of smush folklore and information from various traditions together without mentioning where it's actually from. I don't really like that. This one will probably be very interesting, and it's also pretty small. It's 130 pages, so probably a very quick read. We will see. Alright, next up we have a more history-related book. Shamans, Siberian Spirituality and the Western Imagination by Ronald Hutton. This one. If you've seen my video on the very problematic history of the term shaman and shamanism, then you know that I'm very interested in that topic, so I thought I would just read another book on it. In my opinion, it's very interesting and very, very important to know about, because then you can kind of think about if you want to use those terms, if you want to get into those practices like core shamanism and stuff like that. The more you know, right? I personally think history books are extremely important as a magical practitioner. So, with their ability to enter trances to change into the bodies of other creatures and to fly through the northern skies. Shamans are the subject of both popular and scholarly fascination. In Shamans, Ronald Hutton looks at what is really known about both the shamans of Siberia and about others spread throughout the world. He traces the growth of knowledge of shamans in Imperial and Stalinist Russia, describes local variations and different types of shamanism, and explores more recent Western influences on its history and modern practice. This is a challenging book by one of the world's leading authorities on paganism. Yes, I love Ronald Hutton, so I bet this one will be very, very interesting. Will probably take me a little while to get through, because of course he's a historian, so of course they're a little bit more academic, less easy to go through. It's roughly 150 pages, pretty dense though, very tiny font. So this one will be amazing. Excited about that. I always recommend Ronald Hutton's books. I'm currently reading The Return of the Moon. Is that the name? I think. It's about the history of modern pagan witchcraft. And I think it starts in like the 1700s or something. Very, very interesting, but basically takes away all of your trust in basically any academic before like the 1950s. So, but the more you know, right? I got a very tiny one, like this tiny little thing. It's so small. It's Death's Head, Animal Skulls and Witchcraft and Spirit Work by Blake Malliway. I just thought this sounds interesting because it's weirdly specific, animal skulls and witchcraft and spirit work. I don't know how much information will be in this. I mean, I personally like working with bones, with animal bones, animal remains, so I just hope this will give me some new ideas. I mean, maybe there's something in this that I have not considered yet when it comes to working with animal remains. So I just hope. And it was pretty cheap. It's tiny, quick read. Give me a weekend and I will be done with this. Who would have thought? Another book on spirit flight. Witchcraft and the Shamanic Journey. I hope it stays at that word because I don't like the word shamanic and shaman, you know that. By Kenneth Johnson. This one right here. So we will see. I hope this won't go too deep into like shamanic practices. We will see. Breathing new life into the old witch traditions. This beautifully written book will show seekers of the magical arts how to reclaim the old traditions of our pagan ancestors, which, as the author will show, were heavily rooted in shamanism, very debatable. Kenneth Johnson takes the reader on a journey far into the past, where these shamanistic practices of the medieval and Renaissance European people can be explored by simultaneously teaching the working witch how to incorporate these older traditions into their own magical practice. Included in this book are explorations of the mystical otherworld, instructions on how to discover one's tree of power, methods of entering the world mountain to gain wisdom, and in-depth overview of folkloric initiatory practices, the folklore of the wild hunt, and much more. This timeless book offers seekers of the older traditions of witchcraft a solid framework upon which to build a practice, using a wealth of witch folklore and mythology as the foundation. And this is what I'm hoping to get from this book, more of witch folklore and witchcraft history stuff, more than like core shamanism basically, but that's always the tricky part. Core shamanism has made its way into so many books that shouldn't have anything to do with it. And I don't necessarily like calling basically every type of ancient practice shamanistic, because that's just not what it is. So yeah, I basically just hope this will be more medieval witchcraft, maybe, than like core shamanism. But we will see. We will see. I hope. I hope. Okay, this is one that I'm extremely excited about. The Bones Fall in a Spiral, a necromantic primer by Mortellus. I know everyone is talking about this book. I really wanted to get it, and I actually got it on Black Friday, and then they canceled the order of specifically this book. And I'm like, why? I mean, I guess it was sold out or something, but I could in the end get it over Amazon, which of course I don't really like, but like I couldn't get it anywhere else. So I don't know what was up with that. I mean, if it was sold out, I'm happy for Mortellus. So what necromancy is and how to make it work for you. Providing more than 50 exercises, rituals, spells and recipes, this book teaches you how to honor and work magically with the dead. Mortellus shares the history and power of death magic while also demonstrating its ability to bring comfort and connection. They show you a variety of ways to build a meaningful and safe practice, from using necromantic tools and instruments to understanding the very nature of a soul. The Bones Fall in a Spiral dispels misconceptions around necromancy, helps you ethically work with spirits and remains, and provides a book of shades, an extensive spell book featuring step-by-step instructions. Explore the correspondences, devotions, sigils, rites, and healing magic. Discover how to help the dying cross over, set up an altar, investigate the paranormal, protect yourself, and more. This deeply researched and respectful book empowers you to learn from the dead and become a guardian of the liminal spaces between our world and theirs. If you know my channel, you know that I am going on walks on a cemetery nearby all the time, because this is basically the biggest nature space that I have available where there aren't like a lot of people. I am always, or like very often, very close to the spirits of the dead. And I do work with my ancestors, which of course are also spirits of the dead. But I haven't really done any proper research on that yet. I don't know why, but I thought now is the time. And maybe it can give me some insights. Also because in thralldom, working with spirits of the dead is kind of important. I mean, at least it's pretty far spread. So maybe this one will help me out with that. I'm excited to dive into this. And yes, the word necromancy has such a bad reputation. I don't get it. People should maybe do a little bit of research on what necromancy actually is, and they will realize that they are probably also doing necromancy at some point or another. I'm very excited about that. I also heard a lot of podcast episodes with Mortellus, and I love them. They are so insanely wise and knowledgeable, so I'm just hoping to get a lot of knowledge from this book. Excited about this. I know I'm saying that about literally every single friggin' book. Okay, this one is maybe something that you would not necessarily see me buy. It is 6 Ways, Approaches and Entries for Practical Magic by Aidan. Wachter? I have no clue how to pronounce his name, I'm sorry. This one. And I basically only bought it because everyone is raving about it and I want to know what this is all about, if it's actually that good. I cover the world that was and set it aside. I create the world that is, that I may inhabit it fully. I build a bridge into the other world, a place between awake and dreaming, a place between matter and spirit, a place between what was, what is, and what is to come. 6 Ways is a handbook of magic and sorcery rooted in witchcraft, folk magic, chaos magic, and animistic spirit work. Interesting. Subjects covered include sigils, servitors, meditation, trance, spiritual cleansing, warding, dream sorcery, candle magic, talismanic magic, vessel work, and tending to the spirit ecologies we live with and in. 6 Ways looks at how and why to build relationships in all of the worlds, manifest and unmanifest, what the author, let's just say the author, calls the field, that allows us to perform effective magic. Effective magic is magic that changes us on the level of mind, soul, and spirit while improving our real-world circumstances. The focus is on finding pathways to the other worlds and building symbiotic relationships with the others, powers, spirits, and allies that dwell there. Sorcery then becomes the practice of working within those relationships to bring about the changes we seek in our lives. Interesting, especially that it's rooted in witchcraft, folk magic, chaos magic, and animist spirit work. Yeah, I don't necessarily see myself as a chaos magician, but I mean witchcraft, folk magic, and animist spirit work. That is pretty much what I do. So this one will be interesting. I have not a single clue what to expect from this book. So I'm just relying on other people's reviews on this book, and I just hope that they will be right and that I will also like it. Next up, I'm very fucking excited about this. The Witch's Art of Incantation, Spoken Charms, Spells and Curses in Folk Witchcraft by Roger J. Horne. This one. I'm very excited because my practice is very heavily reliant on my voice, on my breath. So a book on incantations is amazing. In this new and expanded edition, including 180 individual incantations rooted in the lore and age-old texts of previous centuries, the Witch's art of incantation reveals the often overlooked diversity of the incantatory arts. Charms that beckon, charms that command, charms that poison, charms that bless and heal, charms that remember, charms that terrify, charms that praise and exalt. Because each charm is accompanied by an approximate date, region, and associated source text, student witches will sharpen their knowledge of folkloric texts while engaging with these rich and potent spells. The practical methods provided in the introduction, though seemingly simple, outline rarely discussed methods of incantation, including the construction of the magical listener and pairings with sympathetic and contagious ritual acts. New to this edition is a chapter devoted to heretical psalmistry as a branch of the witch's incantatory arts, including both a collection of practical psalms and a complete index of the magical uses of the psalms. Okay, and I just now realized, while reading the blurb, that most of this book are actually charms and incantations and stuff, and only a couple of pages are about writing them yourself. I have to admit I am a little bit disappointed. Maybe I should have read the blurb before, but I usually don't. I like books to surprise me, but well, we will see. Maybe there are some charms and incantations that I can use, but as I said, I'm usually not a person to just use ones from books, but if they're from like folklore and stuff, then maybe that's cool. So we will see. Yeah, maybe I will see some from Scandinavian folklore or from the sagas or the myths, something. We will see. Okay, next up, who would have guessed, another herbal magic book. The Herbal Alchemists Handbook, a complete guide to magical herbs and how to use them by Karen Harrison. This is what it looks like. Cutie cute. Yeah, I'm basically, when it comes to herbal books, you could argue that you need one and then you're done. But I kind of see that every single book on herbs, and it doesn't matter if it's a magic, like a magical green witchcraft book, or just a normal, like maybe more medical herbal book. If you have read several, then you will quickly notice that every single book contains a little bit of a different focus on the plant or a little bit of different information on it. So this far I have not encountered one book that includes every single information. So what I like to do is I buy a lot of herbal books, both magical ones and medicinal ones and like plant identification guides and books like that. And then I cross-reference so that I have like a nice collection of a lot of different knowledge from a lot of different books. So this is why I am constantly buying new herbal magic books too, because every single one always includes also the author's experiences, the author's UPG with the plant, so always interesting. Herbs have been used for medicine, magic, and ritual for centuries. The ancient arts of herbal alchemy and herbal magic combine the healing and energizing effects of herbs, roots, leaves, flowers, resins, and essential oils with the cycles of the natural world, the astrological movement of the stars and planets, and the cycles of the Earth's seasons. In this book, Karen Harrison shows you how to select herbs based on their astrological association as well as their medicinal properties. You will learn how to blend incense, create ceremonial oils, make bath salts, and much more, and use them in your magical practice. Included are more than 150 herbs and their energy associations. Is excited about that. I'm always here for some herbal crafts. You have like the scientific name, other name, element, planet, parts used, and then like a short little like 4 or 5 sentences about what the plant is used for. So it's not a lot of information on the plants themselves. So I guess what I will look at most is, creating custom formulas using astrology. If you know how I make oils, you know I like that. But yeah, I'm always here for some herbal crafts. So, okay, a little bit of a weird one. Troll Magic, Hidden Folk from the Mountains and Forests of Norway by, I'm so sorry, I will probably butcher that name, Theodor Kittelsen? Is that the name? It looks like this. It looks very cute. Across the stillness of the sprawling mountain heath, the shadow of the mighty forest falls, its wildness calling to the child in all of us. Here the hidden folk assemble. The stalwart little Nisse, farmyard spirit and irrepressible prankster, the seductive Hulder with her crown of flowers and cow's tail, the fiddling Fossegrim, summoning the music of wind and water, and most fearsome and enchanting of all, the one-eyed troll, head high above the treetops. A veritable bestiary of Nordic folk creatures was conjured by artist Theodor Kittelsen, whose late 19th century paintings and illustrations gave these macabre and magical figures their enduring forms. In this book, first published in Trollskap in 1892, Kittelsen spins tales of wonder around creatures rumored to haunt the fields, forests and waterfalls of Norway. Striding, gambolling and slithering across these pages are witches and gnomes and sea monsters, fiery dragons waking from their stiff-winged slumber, mermaids rising from the deep, and the sly shape-shifting Nøk. But first and foremost are the trolls, hapless, horrible, or just plain silly, working their spells and making their mischief to the terror and delight of the presumably human reader. Tailoring this whimsical artistic style to each tale, Kittelsen's stories, in Tina Nunnally's nimble translation, reveal a Nordic world of wonder, myth and magic as real as imagination allows. So this is more of a cute little book with illustrations of different kinds of beings from Scandinavian folklore with, maybe a little bit of information. I don't necessarily expect it to be extremely accurate, but just a little bit of stories about them. I thought that was kind of cute. I don't know. You don't always have to read very serious books on folklore. Sometimes something like this is totally fine to read. Maybe one story before bed every day or something. I thought that was cute, so I thought, why not? But now I will let my overheating camera relax a little bit and I will be back. Alright, I waited a couple of moments, let my camera calm down and made myself some tea. But now we're back, let's continue. Next up we have Folk Magic and Healing, an Unusual History of Everyday Plants by Fez Inkwright. It's a very cute book. It's black, white and gold. Very cute, and the illustrations are all black and white, which I personally really like. Especially the history of everyday plants is cool, because I have a lot of everyday plants around me. So, throughout history, plants have played a key and vital role to our existence. Whether as a foodstuff, medicine, building material, or religious aid, the way that we repurpose and domesticate plants has shaped a core part of the development of human culture. Hedgerows and wild-growing areas are a vital part of our countrysides, and through our codependency, have become ingrained in the myth and lore of humanity. Many of the old wives' tales about plants were created to spread knowledge of their medicinal and nutritional properties, and many have become entwined with stories of local spirits, deities, and more ancient legends. This book is ultimately a collection of many of these beliefs, aiming to inspire a greater appreciation of our wild plants and countrysides. As I said, I'm getting a lot of plant books because I kind of feel like I can learn a little bit of something new from every single book, so of course I got it. And it's so cute, look at the illustrations. Isn't that cute? I really like the black and white, more sketchy kind of look. I love that. I don't know how many books about herbs and herbal magic and herbal medicine I already have, but in my opinion, you can never have enough. Why not? Cross-reference books, amazing. Okay, this one though. How long have I waited to order this, and it is so heavy. It is The Norse Sorceress, Mind and Materiality in the Viking World, edited by a person whose name I cannot pronounce, Leszek Gardela or something, I don't know. Sophie Bunding and Peter Pence, I guess. It is huge. It is huge, and it is thick, and it is extremely heavy and dense, and I will probably need a year to get through this, because it is pretty similar to The Viking Way by Neil Price, which of course is all about Seidr, and it is pretty similar to that. It's very academic because I think it was published by the National Museum in Denmark, in Copenhagen. So let me read the blurb. Old Norse literature abounds with descriptions of magic acts that allow ritual specialists of various kinds to manipulate the world around them, see into the future or the distant past, change weather conditions, influence the outcomes of battles, and more. While magic practitioners are known under myriad terms, the most iconic of them is the vulva, as the central figure of the famous mythological poem Voluspa, the prophecy of the vulva. The vulva commands both respect and fear. In non-mythological texts, similar women are portrayed as crucial, albeit somewhat peculiar members of society. Always veiled in mystery, the volur and their kind have captured the academic and popular imaginations for centuries. Bringing together scholars from various disciplinary backgrounds, this volume aims to provide new insights into the reality of magic and its agents in the Viking world, beyond the pages of medieval texts. It explores new trajectories for the study of past mentalities, beliefs, and rituals, as well as the tools employed in these practices and the individuals who wielded them. In doing so, the volume engages with several topical issues of Viking Age research, including the complex entanglements of mind and materiality, the cultural attitudes to animals and the natural world, and the cultural constructions of gender and sexuality. By addressing these complex themes, it offers a nuanced image of the vulva and related magic workers in their cultural context. The volume is intended for a broad, diverse, and international audience, including experts in the field of Viking and Old Norse studies, but also various non-professional history enthusiasts. The Norse sorceress, mind and materiality in the Viking world is a key output of the project Thoughts Behind Things, conducted at the National Museum of Denmark from 2020 to 2023 and funded by the Some Foundation. Sorry, my Danish is not yet that good. So yeah, I'm extremely excited about that. I still also want to actually reread The Viking Way, because I did not take notes because I'm stupid and lazy. Yeah, this one's very similar. I kind of feel like you could probably read first The Viking Way and then this one, and you would be very happy. I'm just excited about it. I remember when I was in Copenhagen, I think in August with my family, I really wanted to get this book. I was at the National Museum of Denmark and I wanted to buy this book, and I was looking for it, and they ended up not having it because for some reason they couldn't get it yet. And I think they got it like a week after I went home. And that was so sad. So I had to wait to order it online. But now I finally have it. Finally! In case you want to get it too, just be aware that this is quite expensive, but it is huge. Like, there is so much knowledge in these, 500 pages, 500 huge, very densely packed pages with a very tiny font. So you're getting a lot for your money. Okay, next up is something that I've wanted to get for ages, but for some reason I never did, and that is the Wanderer's Herbal by Jackson Crawford. Yay! I wanted to get this for friggin' ages, because I'm so over the German translations of all these Old Norse texts, because they're old and stuffy, and while they are pretty good, I think, at maintaining the poetic value, it's very hard to read, not very enjoyable, and sometimes I just don't want to read texts like that. So sometimes I'm lazy and then I like to read Jackson Crawford's texts. Jackson Crawford's new translation of Herbal is a valuable addition to the rich textual history of this poem, infused not only by his learning and understanding of the medieval language and culture, but also by his own poetic creativity. This is a translation that is likely to bring Herbal to a new audience. Of no less value is his more freely translated Cowboy Herbal, which even more than most translations brings the vitality and poetic strength of this text to the fore. I'm very excited, especially that it's a hardcover and the cover is cool. I love a good hardcover, I have to admit. Okay, next up we have actually 2 in 1 basically, or like 1 in 2, because it's Folk and Fairy Tales from Denmark, Oral Tradition Revisited, Volume 1 and 2. So I just got both at the same time. And I guess these are just collections of stories. And they're just stories and stories and more stories. Again, something for my folklore collection. While I like learning about, for example, trolldom by the course that I'm taking, I kind of also want to like reveal something by myself from reading all of the folk tales and stuff. But yeah, Folk and Fairy Tales from Denmark is a collection of stories hitherto unavailable to English-speaking audiences, recorded at source by Danish folklorist Evald Tang Christensen. Towards the latter part of the 1800s, they were told to him by storytellers from different social positions, the majority of whom were well versed in the hardships of the rural life of the times. The stories are brim-full of shrewd observations, humor, invention, down-to-earth advice, and are as fresh and relevant today as when they were told over a century ago. So I'm very excited about that. I mean, I like to learn about Scandinavia in general, but Denmark just feels most home to me because most of my ancestry is from Denmark, and you know, I grew up at the Danish border with a lot of Danish culture. The area where I'm from, of Germany, has been Danish up until 150 years ago, so of course I have a lot of love for Denmark. I'm learning Danish, so I'm excited about these. Especially since, yes, it's kind of hard to find books about Scandinavian folklore in English. So apparently we are going back to herbs. I mean, maybe I should have put these into categories, but who cares? So we're going back to herbs because I also got the Witch's Ointment, The Secret History of Psychedelic Magic by Thomas Hatsis. This one. Yes, I really like this topic, duh. In the medieval period, preparations with hallucinogenic herbs were part of the practice of Veneficium, or poison magic. This collection of magical arts used poisons, herbs, and rituals to bewitch, heal, prophesy, infect, and murder. In the form of psyche magical ointments, poison magic could trigger powerful hallucinations and surrealistic dreams that enabled direct experience of the divine. Smeared on the skin, these entheogenic ointments were said to enable witches to commune with various local goddesses, bastardized by the church as trips to the Sabbath, clandestine meetings with Satan to learn magic and participate in demonic orgies. Examining trial records and the pharmacopoeia of witches, alchemists, folk healers, and heretics of the 15th century, Thomas Hatsis details how a range of ideas from folk drugs to ecclesiastical fears over medicine women merged to form the classical witch stereotype and what history has called the witch's ointment. Through his study of rare manuscripts from university collections all over the world, Hatsis provides detailed evidence that in the preparation of their remedies, medieval folk healers used a wide variety of psychoactive plants along with ritual practices and magical incantations. He explores the connections between witches' ointments and spells for shapeshifting, spirit travel, and bewitching magic. He examines the practices of some Renaissance magicians who inhaled powerful drugs to communicate with spirits, and of Italian folk witches such as Matuccia di Francesco, who used hallucinogenic drugs in her love potions and herbal preparations, and Finicella, who used drug ointments to imagine herself transformed into a cat. Exploring the untold history of the witch's ointment and medieval hallucinogen use, Hatsis reveals how the church transformed folk drug practices, specifically entheogenic ones, into satanic experiences. And the author is a historian, so I guess this one will be more historical than witchy. I am excited about that. A lot of, at least older witchcraft books, didn't really take history too seriously and invented a lot of stuff, so I'm always happy about reading more historical texts about witchcraft topics. Yeah, what should I say? More herbs, more spirit flight, more hallucinogenics. Yeah. Okay, let's go on. Different topic, actually, very different topic. Elves, Witches and Gods, Spinning Old Heathen Magic in the Modern Day by Kat Heath. This one. For some reason, I'm always very hesitant to buy Norse magic books because so many are so bad and not rooted in history at all and just very Wiccan-esque. No shade to Wiccans or Wiccan magic, but I personally think if someone writes a book on heathen magic, it should be heathen, or otherwise they should state that it's heathen-inspired Wiccan magic. You know what I mean? So, weave the threads of ancient heathen magic into your life. Journey into the fascinating depths of heathenry with this tremendous source of history, inspiration and practical information. Based on decades of research and experimentation, Elves, Witches and Gods provides explanations and hands-on techniques for Galdr, Seidr, fiber magic, Herbcraft, journeying, going under the cloak and connecting with deities and elves. Working with authentic source material, happy about that. Kat Heath has carefully pieced together and recreated heathen magic techniques, and she shares the theories, skills, and tools you need to begin or deepen your own practice. This book introduces you to deities such as the spinning goddess, the spear god Odin, and Yngvi. You will discover recipes, spells, and prayers, as well as learn how to work with specific oils and charms. Whether you are interested in using magic to influence your fate, or you want to take a deep dive into the craft of the Hellrune and the Vulva, this book's guidance will help you take the next step on the heathen path. So, this will be very, very interesting. I already know that probably a lot of you will want a review on this one. I'm very interested in the fiber magic part. That one will be cool. We will see how it is, but I'm very excited about this. I hope it will be good. I really hope it won't be trash. But if it says working with authentic source material, I hope it will be good. And I hope it will give the sources and not pretend like the author's UPG is fact, because I hate that. Okay. We have another smaller one, and that is Historiola, The Power of Narrative Charms by Carl Nordblom. This one. In the beginning was the word, and for as long as there has been language, there has been power within the use of words. Incantations and spoken charms apply nuance, narrative, rhyme, and cadence to achieve magical effects, commonly divided into healing, hexing, and procuring. Modern academic scholarship, focusing on their historical relevance, refers to magical narrative charms as historiolae, which are explored here within numerous cultures of antiquity, including Sumerian, Egyptian, Greek, and Indian, through to Norse and Christian examples. The author's native Scandinavian tradition of trollformulae uses short narratives with a powerful protagonist, such as Jesus, saints, Mary, three maidens, mythical figures, performing the required action to heal or hex. The narrative recounts a series of events which the speaker, through sympathetic magic, manifests into action through the power of the protagonist and their actions. The storytelling aspect of the charms also provides a visual component to the charm, activating the power of imagination in both speaker and, if appropriate, recipient. Through his exploration of the component of historiolae and associated ritual components, Carl Nordblom lucidly and concisely demonstrates the practice of narrative charms, equipping the reader with everything needed to incorporate or enhance their use in personal practice. And the word was with magic, and the word was magic. Very much agree. I love incantations, charms, chants, everything, but I don't really usually work with narrative charms that much, so I'm extremely excited about that. And of course that the author is from Scandinavia. That only makes things more interesting. So, very interesting. It's a very short one. It is roughly 90 pages, so also a very quickie. But I like to have like small little books that are very, 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 very specific about a very, very niche topic, because then I don't have to read like a huge book to get to like one part that's interesting to me. Okay, next up, another very short one is The Graveyard Wanderers, The Wise Ones and the Dead in Sweden by Dr. Thomas K. Johnson. Very, very short. Doesn't really even have a blurb. It only says Folk Necromancy in Transmission Volume 7. But yeah, this one will be very interesting. I mean, I don't really know what it's really about, apart from something with probably spirits of the dead in Scandinavian traditions. And since I am basically a graveyard wanderer, I mean, they probably mean the spirits of the dead with the graveyard wanderers, but I am probably a graveyard wanderer because I'm on the graveyard all the friggin' time. I feel like this one very much relates to what I'm doing a lot, so I thought I would get that. Okay, we have another Ronald Hutton, and that is The Witch, a history of fear from ancient times to the present. I'm very interested in the history of the witch hunts and stuff, so by now I own a lot of books about that. The witch came to prominence and often a painful death in early modern Europe. Yet her origins are much older and more geographically diverse. In this landmark book, Ronald Hutton traces witchcraft from the ancient world to the present day via the stakes, sorcerers, and superstitions that have come to define her image. Not a huge blurb, but I mean, again, it's Ronald Hutton, he's a historian, and he's a great historian. I love his books a lot, so I'm just excited about that, to be honest. Again, learning about the history of witchcraft, in my opinion, is extremely important, because if you only really read witchcraft books, again, as I said, they usually don't take history that seriously, at least older books, so reading actual history books about it, in my opinion, very important if you want to really know what you're talking about. And especially if you are calling other people witches that wouldn't necessarily call themselves witches, for example. Okay, we also have another Roger J. Horne, A Broom at Midnight, 13 Gates of Witchcraft by Spirit Flight. Again, a Spirit Flight book, who would have guessed? Oh yeah, this is it, by the way. Sorry. Preserved in medieval and early modern witch lore, the image of the witch embarking upon flight has become iconic from a historic and folkloric perspective. In the accounts of previous ages, however, it was commonly understood that witches flew in spirit from rather than corporeal form, leaving the physical body behind as the practitioner voyaged into the other world to procure knowledge, learn charms, visit boon or bane upon others, and attend the spiritual gathering of the witches' Sabbath. In this unique offering, the author organizes the lore and charms of the transvective arts around 13 central lessons and approaches in methodology, acting as gates through which the practitioner may cross. Some approaches offered here may be familiar to folk and traditional witches, such as via Veneficium, by way of poison, and via equarum, or equarum, by way of steed, while others, like via imaginibus, by way of image, and via tempestatis, by way of storm, draw on historic lore and charms in order to innovate upon old craft while maintaining the spirit that flavors these beloved arts. By mastering the often overlooked work of sabbatic ecstasis, the witch is brought into direct contact with familiar spirits, powers of the land and of ancestry, and with the primal sources of witchcraft itself, yielding an inexhaustible and ever unfolding curriculum of the art magical. Very excited about that, especially about learning spirit flight forms that I haven't tried yet, because I usually always do the same thing, which is probably... It's getting a little bit boring, to be honest. I want to try something else, and I feel like this book will be great for that. Let's look at the index. Okay, we have The Transvective Arts in Context, Writing with Devils, Lessons at the Hidden Feast, Preparations and an Invitation. And then we have all of the different gates. Equarum, Arborum, oh that's trees I think, Lapidum, Mortuorum, or is that death? Veneficium, Somnium, Aquum, is that water I think? Bestium, Imaginibus, Tempestatis, Repetitio, Flammae, through fire, okay, and Umbrum. Okay, my Latin isn't good enough to know all of these words, I'm sorry. And of course my camera is overheating, you friggin' stupid bitch. Alright, it's getting freaking dark, but let's quickly do the other two that we have. Okay, so first of all, we have The Green Witch's Guide to Herbal Magic by Annabelle Margaret. I'm very excited about this one. This is by The Green Witch, whom you hopefully all know. If not, you are definitely living under a YouTube rock. So, the witch and the herb fit together like the wind and the rain. There is magic in things that grow, and this guide is the perfect companion for cultivating your own herbal practice. Within these pages, you will discover spells for cleansing, protection, healing, and banishment, while also deepening your relationship with the natural world. You will learn the language of lavender, chamomile, and cedar, uncover old secrets, and reconnect with that which is wild and beautiful. Whether drawing in a new relationship by sweetly whispering your romantic desires to your basil plant each day, writing a wish on a bay leaf, or working to lift your spirits by harvesting calendula under a bright midday sky, the abundant wisdom of herbs guides our growth and unearths deep understanding of the inherent magic in all of nature. From understanding intention and magical preparation to a practical collection of spells and accompanying herbal compendium, the Green Witch's Guide to Herbal Magic empowers you to live the magical life you've always wanted. Very excited about this one. I love her videos so friggin' much, and I'm just in awe of her knowledge about plants. And there is so much also like folklore and magical uses of the plants, and I'm, to be honest, most excited about the recipes and about like making stuff, because I just love herb crafting. I love making oils. I would love to try to make tinctures and balms, and like incense blends are one of my favorite things to make. It's so friggin' fun. So again, another herbal book. I know, kind of boring. I'm only getting like history books, books about the Viking Age, spirit flight, poison path, herbs. Well, okay. And the last one I technically didn't buy on Black Friday, but I had seen this one ages ago on Amazon, and I couldn't believe it's true, because it's actually, I don't remember how many books exactly it is, but I'm not gonna lie, it's this many books. Like, it's a huge stack of books, because it's Handwörterbuch des deutschen Aberglaubens, so it's basically an encyclopedia of German superstitions, and there's literally everything in there. This entire book is only the index. There is so much in there. And this is literally just a description of what's in there. An entire book, only the contents. I'm so excited. Honestly, I've really thought about making like short little, I don't know, YouTube shorts or Instagram reels just about like tiny little snippets of knowledge from these encyclopedias, because there's so much in there, like literally anything that you could think of. It's just insane. I bet there's like literally everything in there. And you would guess with like an encyclopedia with like this many books, it would be like hundreds of euros. I think it was 25 bucks or something. How? I mean, do they even cover just the printing with those 25 bucks? I don't know. I was very, very excited and surprised about the price, because I was like, that can't be true, but it is true. So if you're German, probably get it. Just look it up on Amazon. I doubt that it exists in English, but like, oh, so cool. So cool. These were the 29 books that I got on Black Friday. Tell me in the comments which your favorite is. And again, if you want book reviews on any of these books, then make sure to first look in the comments if someone already commented that book. And if yes, then just vote it up, so that I know which one wins, because I will not go through all of the comments and then add them up myself. I'm too lazy for that. But with that being said, Patreon and YouTube membership shout out. Thank you so much to Penny, Wyrfestira, I have no clue how to pronounce your name, I'm so sorry, Ivy, Katrina V, Bella, Derek, Tori, Smiley, Robin, Kirsten, Marley, Shannon, Andrew, Tisha, Sarah, Stanny, Carrie, August, Hannah, Helena, SJ, Natasha, Merle, Anne, Kate, Cade, Z, Kent, Brittany, Emre, Celine, Smolkata, Josh, Elinora, Knarr, Kristany, Rixie Business, Annalena, Bast, Ashley, Tim, John, Phoenix, Jenny, Bran, Maggie, Misty, Amy, Bethany, Timothy, Coffee, or the honorary Gossip Squirrel, and last but not least, Bjorn. And now let's go over to the YouTube membership. Thank you so much to Peony Rain, Milla, Katie Wolfsbane, and Crystal. Thank you so much, everyone. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe and give a thumbs up and ring the bell down below so you're notified whenever I upload a new video. Feel free to check out my Instagram or my shop, which could technically still be closed. I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. And if you want to support me, then you can do that via Patreon or my YouTube membership. You will get the same stuff on both platforms. So it doesn't matter where you subscribe. And with that being said, I will see you in another video. Bye bye!